Welcome back to the results video. Hope you all enjoyed the fight at UFC 303. In this video we will review all the picks from the UFC prediction channels on YouTube to find out who was the best and the worst picker for this event. We will also find out who would have won or lost the most money if they had made a $100 bet on each of their picks to win the fight, and also what their return of investment was. I've tracked 62 channels that made predictions on this event, and a total of 647 predictions were made on this event by those 62 channels. We will start by looking at who was better with their picks this week, the Oddsmakers or the YouTube predictors. So, would you have done better by following only the favorites or the underdogs in odds, or by following only the favorites or the underdogs in picks? The favorites in odds won 10 out of 13 fights. The favorites in picks, however, won 10 out of 12. But there was of course a very late replacement fight on this card, with Dan Ige replacing Brian Ortega 3 hours before the fight. So nobody was able to make a pick for that fight anymore. But originally, versus Brian Ortega, most people already picked Diego Lopez to win. And I'm pretty sure they would have picked him to win versus Dan Ige as well. But unfortunately, I can't count it. But even then, the UFC predictors overall did better than the Oddsmakers, with 83% correct versus 77%. Now we go to the least correct picks for this week. In third place of least correct picks are MMA Prediction Guru and the MMA Guru. Similar in name and similar in correct picks. Both only predicted 5 out of 12 fights correct, or 42% correct picks. Last week, MMA Prediction Guru was in third place for most correct picks, with 10 out of 12 correct, and the week before in second place, with 7 out of 11 correct. So this week was opposite of the last 2 weeks for him. 2 weeks ago, the MMA Guru was also on the least correct picks list, in second place with 5 out of 11 correct. The second worst picker this week was Michael Bisping. He only had 2 out of 7 picks correct this week, or 29% correct picks. But in number 1 this week was ChatGPT and Freestyle Bender, or Israel Adesanya. They both only had 25% of their picks correct. ChatGPT only had 3 out of 12 correct, and Israel Adesanya only had 1 correct out of his 4 picks. 25% is the new record for least correct picks on this channel. The previous lowest correct picks was 29%. So well done ChatGPT and Israel Adesanya. So just as Michelle Waterson Gomez retired last night, I think it's time for ChatGPT to retire as well. Basically because it is not a YouTube predictions channel, which is of course what I track on this channel. Now let's see which channels had the most correct picks this week. In third place are Bet Slam with Sam and the UFC fighter Josh Emmett. They both had predictions for 7 fights, and 6 out of those 7 were correct, for 86% correct picks. In second place we have 4 channels: Fight Realm, Johnny K Picks, Left Lane MMA and MMA Lock of the Night. All 4 of them predicted 11 out of 12 fights correct, for a 92% correct pick percentage. Left Lane MMA left a comment under my All Picks overview video for this event. He wrote, "I'm sweeping this card, trust." Well, you almost did, but 11 out of 12 correct is still very impressive in my opinion. So all 4 of you did very well. If they all had 11 out of 12 correct, that can only mean that the number 1 this week had 12 out of 12 correct, or 100% of their picks were correct. And that is not one, but 3 channels. Pick'em MMA, the MMA Fortune Teller and UFC VODs all had 100% of their picks correct. First time on this channel that someone had 100% of their picks correct. And not just one channel, but 3 of them. So well done and congratulations to all 3 of them for a 100% correct pick. Here's an overview of all 62 channels that I've tracked this week with their correct picks, their total picks and the correct pick percentage. Pause the video now if you want to have a closer look at this overview. Before we go to the most money lost and won part, I want to quickly ask you that if you enjoy the content and find the information helpful, to please like the video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thank you and let's go on. In 7th and 6th place of most money lost are Paul from Mayo Media Network and Freestyle Bender. They both lost $294, but in their return of investment is a huge difference. Paul made 12 picks this event and thus invested $1,200 or $100 on each pick. So his return of investment is minus 24%. Freestyle Bender or Israel Adesanya on the other hand only made picks for 4 fights for a $400 investment. So his return of investment is minus 73%. A lot worse. He has the worst return of investment of all channels for this week. In 5th and 4th are Siki Does MMA and MMA El Dente with minus $332 and minus $346 respectively for a minus 28 and minus 29% return of investment. In 3rd place is MMA Predictions Guru with a $439 loss on his 12 picks for a return of investment of minus 37%. In 2nd place is Michael Bisping, who only made 7 picks or invested $700 for a loss of $461 with a very bad return of investment of minus 66%. So he has the 2nd worst return of investment this week after Israel. You would think UFC fighters would make better picks. But in 1st place of most money lost this week is the MMA Guru. He would have lost $494 if he had made a $100 bet on every pick he made for this week, for a return of investment of minus 41%. And now let's find out which predictions channels would have won the most money with their picks this week. In 4th place is Jacob from We Want Picks with $468 profit for a nice return of investment of 39% on his 12 picks. In 3rd place this week are Johnny K Picks and MMA Lock of the Night with a $508 profit for a 42% return of investment. In 2nd place are Fight Realm and Left Lane MMA. They both would have won $641 if they had made a $100 bet on all their picks to win the fight, for a very nice return of investment of 53%. But in 1st place this week are of course the same people that had all picks correct this week, which are Pick'em MMA, the MMA Fortune Teller and UFC VODs. They all could have won $813 for a great return of investment of 68% on their $1,200 investment. So, excellent results overall this week for most of the channels that I track. Here is a list of all the results for all channels this week, of how much money they would have won or lost and the return of investment. Special shout out to Rigo, who would have just barely made a profit and has another positive week in terms of money won. Later this week I will post a video with the results for all of June, where we will find out who is the best UFC predictor over all 5 UFC events for that month. We will look at all results for the month of June 4, the most and least correct picks, the most money won and lost, the highest and lowest return of investment, and longest winning and losing streaks. Any ideas what else we could take a look at? I would love to hear your ideas. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.